CEO's heartless mockery of janitor exposed how her incredible invention rescued the company. Sam worked hard in the bustling heart of Chicago, endlessly scrubbing floors and emptying trash cans at a once thriving software company, now crammed with worn-out furniture and the ghost of its former glory. The weight of his family's expectations pressed down on him like a heavy coat. His wife, Emily, and their 2 kids looked up to him, believing in the value of hard work, just like he did. Underneath his scrubs, his heart pulsed with dreams of something greater, something more meaningful than the endless cycle of cleaning up after others. It was during a glamorous company event, filled with fancy hors d'oeuvres and high-tech showcases, that everything changed. CEO Miriam, a formidable woman known for her cutting remarks, took the stage. She radiated confidence, but it felt like a sharp knife slicing through the air. "At least some of us know how to clean up the messes we make," she quipped, pointing directly at Sam. Stunned silence filled the room, followed closely by uncomfortable laughter. Each chuckle reverberated in Sam's mind, gnawing at him like acid. It was more than just a joke, it cut deep and exposed the chasms of class disparity that ran through the office. His chest tightened. Anger and humiliation clashed. Sam found himself standing at a crossroads. His family noticed the flicker of pain in his eyes, and that night, his children urged him to stand up for himself. "Dad, you always taught us to think big," his youngest, Lily, said, her hopeful blue eyes brimming with faith. They implored him to confront Miriam, to shake off the humiliation and fight back against the corporate culture that belittled workers like him. Yet fear lurked in Sam's heart. Could he dare challenge someone so powerful? Slowly, through late nights in the garage, a flicker of inspiration grew. He envisioned a new cleaning tool, simple yet ingenious, designed to cut labor costs while improving efficiency. Hours turned into days as he tinkered, pouring not just sweat but hope into the project. Before he knew it, whispers of financial troubles began to swirl around the company. Miriam caught wind of his invention and at first, dismissed it. However, as the pressure mounted, so did her envy. The once charming laughter that echoed through the halls turned into nervous murmurs as her steely confidence wavered. Paradoxically, Miriam's initial mockery began to morph into fierce competition, a desperate maneuver to retain her power. Sam felt the tides shifting beneath his feet, everything he had dreamed of achieving stirred with newfound urgency. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Standing in the company's boardroom, filled with executives who had turned a blind eye for far too long, Sam felt a swell of courage. He was no longer just the janitor. He was a man with a vision, ready to demand the respect he deserved not just for himself, but for every worker who felt overlooked in their pursuit of dignity. As he prepared to unveil his creation, Miriam's facade began to crack, revealing her own insecurities and fears. What lay ahead was a battle not just for power, but for respect and recognition in a world that often forgot the value of hard work. Sam's heart raced in anticipation. Would he be brave enough to seize this chance, or would he forever linger in the shadows? One thing was certain, change was brewing, and this was only the beginning. Sam stood at the head of the long conference table, his hands trembling slightly. The glossy, unfamiliar faces of the board gazed at him with a mix of skepticism and intrigue. The aura of the room felt suffocating, thick with the weight of expectations, yet there was a spark of hope igniting in Sam's chest. He cleared his throat, summoning every ounce of courage. "This is it," he thought as he steadied himself, clutching the prototype of his invention, a sleek, efficient cleaning tool that combined innovation with simplicity. "It's time." As he lifted the device, the small crowd leaned in, curiosity dancing in their eyes. Sam felt the rush of adrenaline as he demonstrated how it worked. "This tool can cut cleaning time in half and reduce costs significantly," he explained, feeling the air shift as he spoke. For the first time, he was no longer the invisible man in a janitor's uniform. He was Sam, the inventor. The board members whispered among themselves, a few nodding in agreement. His passion filled the room. "This isn't just about saving money," he added, feeling the warmth of his family's support bolstering him from behind. "It's about valuing the hard work of everyone in this building. It's about respect." But as Sam looked for encouragement, he caught Miriam's gaze. Her expression transformed, darkening like storm clouds rolling in. She was no longer the confident CEO, she was a woman struggling to maintain her grip on power. Sam saw her lips twitch, and he braced himself for the inevitable. "Interesting idea, Sam," she began, her tone a sharp contrast to the excitement buzzing in the room. "But do you really think a janitor can lead us out of our financial troubles?" The laughter that followed from some of her loyal followers stung, a reminder of his past humiliation. Sam's heart plummeted for just a moment, but he shook it off. He had come too far to let her mockery crush him again. "Actually, I believe it can and it will," he replied, his voice steadier than he felt inside. "Just like anyone else in this room, I'm capable of innovation and contributions. You mocked my position before, Miriam, but today I bring a solution that benefits us all." Silence fell, heavy and charged. The board members shifted, some exchanging glances. A flicker of uncertainty appeared in Miriam's eyes, as if she was starting to see the cracks in her previously unshakable facade. As the discussion continued, ideas thrummed like electricity in the air. Sam felt a surge of excitement he hadn't known in years. People began to throw out suggestions about how to improve and implement his tool. The atmosphere transformed. Ideas bloomed, and respect filled the room, a respect that had been denied to many workers for far too long. Yet, in the back of his mind, the tension with Miriam loomed. Sam could sense her simmering resentment, he could almost see it coiling around her. He knew he wouldn't win every battle today, but he had planted a seed of change. As the meeting wrapped up, Sam stepped away, feeling buoyed by the experience but also wary of the storm he sensed brewing on the horizon. Just as he allowed himself a moment of pride, Miriam approached him, her eyes glinting with determination. "Don't get too comfortable, Sam," she warned. "You've made your point today, but remember, I'm not one to be easily outdone." Fear prickled at the back of his neck, but he met her gaze head-on, ready to take her on. "I'm not going anywhere, Miriam. Whether you like it or not, change is coming." With that, Sam walked away, knowing this was just the beginning of a much larger fight. Each step felt heavy with possibility, but one question echoed in his mind: would he have the strength to face what lay ahead? The battle lines were drawn, and now it was time for Sam to stand firm. What unforeseen challenges awaited him next? The next day dawned with a sharp clarity, the sun rising like a new chapter in Sam's life. He slid into his role as a janitor, but there was a vibrancy in his step that hadn't been there before. Every swipe of the mop became a reminder of the battle he had just fought. Today, he was equipped with hope, fueled by adrenaline. As he worked, he couldn't shake the image of Miriam's icy stare. That encounter haunted him, yet it also lit a fire within him. She had underestimated him, treated him as invisible, and now, he was determined to prove her wrong. He imagined her in the boardroom, a fortress of power surrounded by loyal soldiers, but today, he would be a warrior, too. During the lunch break, he sneaked into the break room where fellow employees gathered, sharing tired laughs over lukewarm coffee. Sam's heart swelled at the sight of them, the janitors, maintenance crew, the kitchen staff workers who knew the true pulse of the company and had been overlooked for too long. They deserved better. He gathered his courage and spoke up. "Hey, I had a meeting yesterday with the board. They're interested in my cleaning tool. But I can't do this alone. We need to push for respect and acknowledgement in every corner of this company. What do you say? A ripple of excitement coursed through the room. Faces turned toward him with curiosity and budding enthusiasm. One of the older janitors, a man named Jose, nodded slowly. You've got guts, Sam. But can we really change this place? Yes. Sam replied, feeling the energy build. If we band together, we can remind them that we're all part of the same machine. Each one of us brings something valuable to the table. They can't ignore us if we're united. Murmurs of agreement followed. His heart raced. He realized that this was a chance to create the change he longed for, to not just fight individually but as a collective force. That afternoon, he put out a call for a meeting after hours. He wanted everyone to bring their ideas, suggestions, and visions. He wanted to empower them. As evening fell, people trickled in, filling the small room with an air of anticipation. Sam felt a rush as he looked around at the faces of people who had long felt voiceless. One by one, they began to share their stories. Inspirations flowed, suggestions spilled forth for improving company operations and pushing for better working conditions. Each voice added to a cacophony that harmonized a longing for change and mutual respect. Yet, as ideas soared, Sam felt a shadow lurking just outside the door. Torn between hope and fear, he couldn't shake the feeling that Miriam was already planning her next move. What low blow would she orchestrate to stifle this spark? As the energy in the room peaked, the door swung open. In she stepped Miriam, with her corporate armor intact, scanning the room like an eagle. Time seemed to freeze. Sam's heartbeat thundered in his ears. Would she strike? What a surprise to find you all in here, she said smoothly, looking at each of them with an amused, predatory glint. Faces turned pale around Sam. Plotting your uprising, are we? Just a friendly reminder, I make the final decisions around here. An overwhelming chill settled on the room. Sam swallowed hard, but he stood firm. His resolve surged, and the flames of unity flickered in the hearts surrounding him. He could either cower now or rise to confront her head-on. Miriam, these are the voices you've overlooked, he said, taking a step forward, drawing strength from his colleagues. They matter. We matter. Her smile faded, and an icy wind swept through the space. Silence hung heavily, pregnant with tension. With his voice steady and the weight of everyone's hopes on his shoulders, Sam took a deep breath, and we won't be ignored anymore. Either you realize that we deserve respect, or this company will lose the very heart that keeps it alive. The intensity in the room swirled, the stakes had never been higher. Where would this confrontation lead? Would Miriam retaliate, or was she beginning to grasp the true essence of her corporation's strength? As Sam stood there, heart racing, he knew this was just the beginning of a fight that would not only define his future but also reshape the very workplace he cherished. What move would he and his colleagues make next in the face of impending conflict? Sam stood his ground, a fortress of hope and courage against the chilling glare of Miriam. The air crackled with tension, as if the room itself pondered the weight of their words. Faces around him were a mix of fear and determination. He glanced at Jose, who nodded, encouraging him to stay strong. This was not just about him anymore, it was about all of them. Miriam's eyes narrowed, her confidence gleaming through like a razor. You think this little meeting gives you power? You're wasting your time, Sam. You have no idea how the world works, she scoffed, crossing her arms defiantly. But Sam felt the voices behind him. He sensed the simmering resolve of his coworkers. Maybe you're right, he replied, keeping his tone calm, but that's exactly why we're here. Because the world has forgotten what it means to listen. We're tired of being the cogs in a machine that's broken at its core. The room held still, the gravity of his words hanging in the air. Miriam's smile, once so self-assured, faltered ever so slightly as she surveyed the people gathered behind Sam. He could almost see gears turning in her mind, analyzing the threat. Do you really think your little uprising will change anything? She retorted, her voice silky yet sharp. I can have this entire crew replaced by morning. You're expendable, all of you. Anger surged through Sam, but he held it together. You may think we're expendable, but we're not. The heart of this company is its people. You've been blinded by numbers and graphs while we're the ones who know what actually works. He turned, making eye contact with every person in the room. Together, we can show you what real growth looks like. Miriam let out a laugh, cold and hollow, echoing off the walls. You think you can change my mind? You think I'll bow to your demands? This isn't about you bowing, Miriam, one of the kitchen staff piped up, her voice trembling with emotion. This is about respect. We're not asking for charity, we're demanding acknowledgement for what we do. Miriam raised an eyebrow, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. It was the first chink in her armor. Sam seized the moment, propelling himself forward. When I pitched my cleaning tool to the board, it was about efficiency and respect for our work. You didn't even bother to ask who created it or how it could better the company. That's telling in itself. As murmurs of agreement circulated, Miriam's facade began to crack. It was subtle but there. The eagle had missed something, and the mice had banded together. Enough, she commanded suddenly, regaining composure. I won't waste my time on this childish fantasy. You'll learn your place in this company, one way or another. With that, she stormed out, but not before Sam caught a glimpse of fear behind her eyes, a flicker that told him this was far from over. As the door swung shut, relief flooded the room. You did it, Sam. Jose cheered, clapping him on the back. The smiles, the laughter, the high-fives, they were all electric. In that moment, the weight of despair lifted. But deep down, Sam felt the familiar gnawing of anxiety. Miriam was not one to give up easily. She'd come back with a plan. What would be her next move? The collective excitement slowly faded as Sam pondered the next steps. This is just the beginning, he said, raising his voice. Let us keep this momentum. We need to prepare for what she might do next. Determination filled the group again, and they began brainstorming ideas, ways to strengthen their connection, to bolster each other's spirits. Yet, as they huddled together, Sam couldn't shake the ominous feeling that Miriam was crafting a revenge strategy, one that could unravel everything they had built. As their voices mixed into a hopeful chorus, Sam took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. Would they be able to withstand whatever challenge Miriam tossed their way? All he knew was that they would face it together. But would it be enough? The meeting room buzzed with energy, a mix of excitement and apprehension. Sam stood at the head of the table, flanked by his colleagues, their faces still lit up with the thrill of defiance. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. Each clapping hand echoed dreams of something greater, of a future where they were respected, valued not just for what they produced, but for who they were. Yet, as the adrenaline began to fade, Sam felt the chill of doubt creep back in. The victory against Miriam was just the opening chapter. The sound of the door slamming shut behind her reverberated in his mind, amplifying the looming threat of retaliation. What would she do next? Let us draft a united statement, Jose suggested, scribbling on a whiteboard. We need to present a cohesive message about what we stand for. We can't give Miriam any ammunition. Good idea. Another voice chimed in. We should specify our accomplishments. Maybe that'll hold some weight at the next board meeting. Sam nodded while their ideas flowed through the air. Each suggestion built on the last and knitted together a tapestry of hope. They were becoming a force, a real force. But for every ounce of optimism they generated, Sam felt a heaviness in his heart. What if Miriam retaliated with something brutal? Cutting staff, spreading lies, or even worse, releasing a new product that overshadowed his invention. He could see it now, headlines mocking him and his creation, unraveling the unity they had just fought to create. All right, listen up, he said, raising his hands to quiet the group. I want you all to draft your thoughts. Share what you feel we should demand moving forward. But we also need to think about how we can shield ourselves if Miriam strikes back. A wave of silence swept over them. Each one was aware of the precarious balance they were balancing on. Everyone had a lot to lose. As they began to scribble notes and speak among themselves again, Sam felt his heart quicken. Suddenly the door creaked open. All heads turned as the tension returned in a split second, tightening around their shoulders like an unyielding grip. Miriam stepped back into the room. The balance of power shifted yet again. Her expression was unreadable, a mask of professionalism that barely concealed the rage brewing beneath. I thought I'd made myself clear, she said, her voice cold as steel. You can't win with just words and indignant demands. You'll soon find out how easily I can replace you all. Sam's hands curled into fists, adrenaline surging as he noted the snickers from Miriam's inner circle that followed her words. This wasn't just an empty threat. No, this was a warning wrapped in a smile, like poison hidden in candy. A weighty silence filled the room, and then Jose broke it, his voice steady, yet edged with tension. Maybe we don't need to have power over others, Miriam. Maybe real strength comes from collaboration, from lifting each other up instead of tearing each other down. Miriam leaned back slightly, surprise flickering across her face. Perhaps they were beginning to chip away at her steely facade. That thought alone sent a ripple of energy through Sam's core, but he didn't dare let the hope swell too much. That's cute, she replied, her voice dripping with sarcasm. But let us see how far collaboration gets you when the pressure is on. With that, she stomped out, slamming the door behind her again. A chill swept through the room like a winter gust. Everyone looked to Sam, who could feel the shared anxiety pressing down. They needed to be smarter, to prepare for Miriam's counterattack. Let us set a timeline, he said decisively. And let us meet every day. We'll hammer out a solid plan and maybe, just maybe, we can turn her own game against her. What do you say? Nods filled the room, igniting once more a flicker of defiance. Together, Sam reiterated, we're stronger. As they began to formulate ideas, Sam's mind raced. He had hopes, he had dreams, but could they really hold their ground against her fury? And just as they rallied back to their planning, a note slipped under. The door caught Sam's eye. The bold letters seemed to gleam ominously. Meet me in the break room if you dare. His stomach churned. What trap was Miriam laying out now? Would they have the courage to face the challenge she was throwing down? Here they were, standing at the edge of a precarious cliff, staring into the vast unknown. What awaited them in the break room? Would it bring unity or division? Would they remain steadfast, or would fear pull them apart? The silence in the meeting room felt like a fragile glass vase, ready to shatter at the slightest tremor. Sam's heart raced as he shared a worried glance with Jose, who had narrowed his eyes thoughtfully at the note. It felt like a challenge, one they couldn't ignore. If Miriam wanted a showdown, it would be on their terms this time. Let us do it, Sam said, determination hardening his voice. Let us meet her in the break room. We can't back down now. A murmur of agreement swept through the group. They all rose, the energy shifting back from fear to resolve. Each step toward the break room felt heavy and electric, the weight of uncertainty hanging in the air. As Sam walked down the hall, he stole a glance at each of their faces, searching for signs of doubt. Instead, he found determination mirrored back. Once they reached the break room, the atmosphere shifted. It was a stark contrast from the meeting room, the walls painted a lively green, adorned with motivational posters that seemed to mock their current predicament. The kettle hissed quietly in the background, creating an illusion of normalcy that felt eerily out of place. Then, there she was, Miriam, leaning casually against the counter with her arms crossed, the picture of confidence. She looked like a cat toying with its prey, a smirk playing on her lips that made Sam's blood boil. I see you decided to show up, she said, tilting her head slightly. Her tone was laced with mockery. I expected you'd be too afraid to face the inevitable. Sam took a deep breath, stepping forward to assert himself. We're not afraid of you, Miriam. We know our worth, and we're not backing down. If you think you can just intimidate us, you're mistaken. The room held its breath, and for a moment, Miriam's amused expression faltered. But she quickly recovered, the smirk returning. Oh, I know what you're worth. It's pretty easy to measure when you're in my position, she said, her voice dripping with disdain. Just numbers on a spreadsheet, waiting to be replaced the moment you're no longer valuable. A whisper of discomfort rippled through the group. Sam felt a knot in his stomach. Would she really replace them? Could she take everything they had worked for? It was as if her words seeped into his bones, threatening to sap the strength of their newfound unity. What if I told you that you're wrong? Jose interrupted, stepping forward. Our value cannot be calculated by your metrics. Look around. These people right here are innovative, passionate, and ready to fight for what's right. We stand together. Miriam's eyes narrowed at that, her confidence faltering under the weight of their solidarity. Together? That's sweet. But you don't know the game I play. You underestimate my influence. But what you don't understand, Sam replied, his voice rising slightly, is that strength grows in unity. We are standing up for ourselves, not just as employees but as a team. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Miriam's face. But just as quickly as it came, she masked it with a tight smile. Very touching. We'll see how far your little dream takes you. Just remember, decisions are made at the top, and you're not even a blip on the radar. And just like that, she swept out of the break room, leaving a heavy silence in her wake. Sam looked at his teammates, who were clearly affected by Miriam's words, their expressions a mix of defiance and fear. Don't let her shake your spirit, Sam said, trying to rally them. This is about more than just us. It's about changing the culture here, making it better for everyone. We need to act wisely. Jose nodded, clenching his fists. We'll make her see. Everyone has a voice. Time we raised ours together. As they all began to discuss their strategy, a thought crossed Sam's mind. Were they strong enough to endure this fight, or would doubt win in the end? A sudden knock interrupted their thoughts, and they turned to see a stranger standing in the doorway, a delivery person holding a package with Sam's name on it. The uncertainty gnawed at him. What could it be? Would it offer them hope or send them farther down the road of despair? Sam hesitated for a heartbeat, the weight of their plans still heavy on his shoulders. What if this package contained just what they needed to take back their power? Or perhaps it would be a hollow reminder of anticipation turned to ashes. He reached for the box, determination sparking in his eyes. Sam's fingers brushed the rough surface of the package, and he took a breath, steadying himself. He glanced at his team, their eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. With a quick flick, he tore through the tape, the sound loud and sharp against the break room's quiet. Inside lay a stack of documents, neatly organized but seemingly unremarkable at first glance. He instinctively flipped through the pages, confusion washing over him. There were data reports, a series of graphs, but something caught his eye amidst the charts: a letter, handwritten and addressed directly to him. Sam's heart raced faster as he unfolded it, the words leaping off the page. Sam, if you're reading this, it means you've decided to fight back. I believe in you and your team. Inside this packet are the results of an initiative I conducted secretly. I wanted to help pave the way for the changes you're looking for. You may not see the value yet, but this data supports your vision. Use it wisely. It was signed, simply, a friend. What is it? Jose leaned in closer, curiosity flashing. Sam's eyes darted over the numbers and charts again, and realization began to dawn. These documents, they measure job satisfaction. Employee performance ratings, the whole works. It outlines how teams with open communication and trust outperform scores she values. Excitement sparked in the room, and a wave of hope rushed over them. This could be what we need to confront Miriam. He glanced up, excitement bubbling in his voice. We can show her the proof that we matter. We can push back. Jose grinned, clapping Sam on the shoulder. This is huge. If we can present this information in a way she can't dismiss, we might just make her sit up and take notice. But as the elation settled in, a thick shadow dimmed the bright atmosphere. Wait, Sam said slowly, a knot forming in his stomach. What if this isn't just a tool? What if it comes with strings? What if exposing data risks our jobs? A tense silence fell over them, as the reality of the risk loomed. The break room, once lively and green, felt claustrophobic. She can retaliate, one voice murmured, the group's energy waning. Sam felt the weight of their anticipation pushing down on him. His instincts battled against doubt. But she's already threatened our jobs. If we don't stand up now, we're already out. Resolute once more, Sam declared, we're all in this together. If we're careful, we can frame this information in a way that highlights our value rather than puts us at risk. Just imagine if we could reshape her perception of us. The group nodded, determination returning, rekindled by the power of possibility. They brainstormed, minds racing with ideas, strategies, and ways to step out from the shadows of Miriam's intimidation. Then, just as they felt momentum building, a darker thought flickered. What if this isn't enough? Before anyone could respond, the break room door swung open with force, and to their utter shock, there stood Miriam, her eyes narrowed, holding a flash drive. I came back to clarify something. The abruptness of her entrance sent a chill rippling through the room. Sam's pulse quickened, thoughts racing. Had she heard everything? Had she always been watching them? With the package still in his hand and the crackling tension filling the space, Sam felt as if the floor beneath them had shifted. She stepped into the room, a formidable presence, and he couldn't shake the feeling that everything they just discussed hung in the balance. What did you find in that package, Sam? She asked coldly, her lips curling into a challenging smile. The stakes had risen drastically, and the battle was really about to begin. Would they be bold enough to stand their ground? Would this moment define them? He swallowed hard, past the fear and uncertainty. What I found changes everything. The room was heavy with silence, the air thick and charged. Sam's heart raced, each beat echoing in his ears. Miriam's cold, piercing gaze felt like ice against his skin. He could feel his team's eyes on him, their unspoken hope and fear pooling together into one shared weight. What do you mean? She pressed, her voice calculated and sharp, slicing through the tension like a knife. Sam hesitated, the meaning of the documents flickering in his mind, unsure if he should reveal the rebellion bubbling beneath the surface. But within an instant, clarity washed over him. They had fought too hard, come too far to back down now. We found data that shows how teams can thrive when communication is encouraged, he said, his voice steady despite the uncertainty. It reflects not just job satisfaction but performance metrics that could lead to substantial changes here. Miriam's expression shifted, a flicker of annoyance crossing her face. Do you think data changes hearts, Sam? That it will change how I run this company? He stood a little taller, the confidence he gained from his team's support surging back. I believe it can show your leadership the path forward. We're not just cogs in the machine filling roles, we're valuable assets. This information, he gestured toward the documents, backs that up. It can't be ignored. Miriam's eyes narrowed further, her smile growing colder, sharper. Is that what you think this is about? Data? Suddenly, she stepped forward, crowding the space around Sam, making him acutely aware of her dominance. Let me give you a piece of advice, sometimes it's better to keep your heads down and do your jobs. You really think you can change my mind with some numbers? Just because you've become a bit overconfident with those papers does not mean you hold any power here. The room had shrunk around them, but Sam could feel Jose's hand on his back, a grounding presence. Instead of backing away, Sam took a step toward her. We care about this company. We are not just employees, we're a team. Her laughter was sharp and devoid of warmth. A team? Cute. But let us be honest, Sam. Loyalty doesn't win you games here, results do. Remember that. With that, she turned abruptly, striding toward the door, but then paused, her hand resting on the frame. And don't think for a moment that I'm unaware of whispered conversations in the break room. If you're playing a game, be prepared to lose. As the door closed behind her, a heavy silence descended, hanging over Sam and his team like a dark cloud. The adrenaline that had fueled their resolve began to deflate, replaced by a sense of dread. Had they really crossed a line? The questions buzzed in their heads, uneasy and relentless. What now? Jose whispered, breaking the silence. Sam could see that all their hearts were racing, none of them wanting to back down yet all uncertain about what lay ahead. We need to stand together. We can't let fear dictate our actions, Sam said, his voice regaining strength. We need to figure out how to take this data and use it to truly make a change. But we have to be careful. Miriam won't tolerate any missteps. His team nodded, their spirits slightly reignited. Despite the storm brewing ahead, they felt ready to face it together. But as Sam collected the documents, an ominous thought nagged at him: would loyalty truly be enough to withstand Miriam's wrath? Before he could fully process the weight of their situation, his phone buzzed on the counter. Checking the screen, his stomach dropped. It was an email notification from HR, something churning deep inside him whispered that this was only the beginning. What awaited him on the other side of that click? He swallowed hard, knowing that decisions were looming that could change everything for them. We'll need to prepare and prepare like never before, he murmured, eyes locked on the door Miriam had just exited. A sense of unity warmed them, but how long could that hold against the looming threat? The next step was vital. Would they take the plunge and fight back harder, or would fear fracture their resolve when it mattered most? Sam felt every heartbeat in resistance to the anxiety bubbling within. This was about to escalate in unexpected ways. How would he channel this momentum into action? The stakes rose high, and the game was just beginning. The soft glow of his phone's screen illuminated Sam's face as he opened the email. With trembling fingers, he read the subject line, and each word struck him like a hammer to glass: mandatory meeting, discussion of team dynamics. His heart raced again, but this time it was different, it was a racing pulse of anxiety. Is it from HR? Jose asked, his voice tight with unease. Yeah. Sam replied, swallowing hard. They want to talk about our meeting with Miriam. An uneasy shuffling of feet followed, the weight of their earlier confrontation looming larger. It wasn't just a meeting, it felt like a ticking time bomb. What would they say about the data? What would Miriam wield against them? Maybe we can clarify our stance before it goes too far, Clara suggested, her voice steadier than Sam felt. She was usually the optimist, the light in their group. We can explain the data and how it can help. Sam admired her optimism. It sparked something in him, a flicker of hope amid the gnawing dread. Yeah, we have to get our points across. If they hear us out, there's a chance they'll listen. Hope isn't enough, interjected Jacob, normally the quietest in the group. He was pacing now, tapping his foot anxiously. What if this becomes a witch hunt? We're aiming to dismantle how things have always been done. Miriam's power could crush us. That made Sam's heart sink. Jacob was right, Miriam was unpredictable. The stakes were real. But together they'd found courage before, hadn't they? He glanced around at his team, each face reflecting determination and uncertainty. Remember why we started this, he said, feeling the words like a mantra. It's about being seen as more than just employees. It's about fostering something bigger than ourselves. A silence fell, and under the weight of that conviction, the atmosphere shifted. Sam could feel an undercurrent of strength building, as if the very walls of the room echoed with their unspoken beliefs. But then came a knock at the door. The HR representative entered, her expression inscrutable. "Sam, your team, can you please step into the conference room?" The words held a gravity that pushed Sam's stomach to the floor. He led the way, trying to project calm even as dread gnawed at the edge of his mind. Inside, the large table felt daunting. Miriam was already there, arms crossed, her eyes sharp as knives. The HR rep took her seat, exuding an aura of authority. "Thank you for coming in," she began, glancing at each member, the tightness in the air gathered like storm clouds. "We need to discuss your recent meeting and the implications of your data findings." Miriam leaned forward, eyebrows raised, her demeanor more predatory than ever. "Let us not mince words, shall we? You've made quite the stir in the company, have you not?" Sam's resolve wavered slightly, but he pushed through, failures and consequences spiraling in his mind. "We believe it's valuable to improve the company culture and performance metrics. It's about collaboration and transparency." She scoffed openly. "And you think the implementation of your ideas won't come with repercussions? You must understand the nature of this place. Change does not come easily." As the conversation unfolded, questions began to tumble like marbles across a floor, each one adding weight to the tense atmosphere. The more they spoke, the more tensions flared. Sam could feel each heartbeat, each exchange pulling harder on an invisible thread of camaraderie. But then it happened. The HR rep suddenly flipped the page on her notepad, staring at them with keen intent. "Regarding this team uprising, we're considering serious actions to address your findings." A chill coursed through Sam. "What do you mean?" "Sanctions, perhaps. It's clear some lines have been crossed." Sam's throat tightened. Their early hope felt like it had been extinguished in an instant. What had they unleashed? The room buzzed with tension, fear clawing at Sam's resolve. Would they pay the price for their bravery? Would anyone dare to stand up against the repercussions? Just as Sam opened his mouth to voice his concerns, a notification pinged on his phone. He glanced quickly. An anonymous message, terse and cryptic. "Don't be afraid to fight back. We're watching." He felt the weight of that message settle in his chest, igniting something fierce and potent within him. In the corridor, uncertainty dimmed their resolve, yet it flickered with defiance. How far were they willing to go? As they prepared to respond to their impending fate, Sam understood this wouldn't just be a battle of ideas but a fierce fight for their very spirit. What awaited them on the other side of this confrontation? Who would rise up when the dust settled? And at what cost? The meeting room buzzed with tension, the air thick with uncertainty as Sam and his team faced Miriam and the HR representative. They had stepped into the lion's den, and now every word felt like a potential landmine. Sam swallowed hard, aware of the fragility of their situation. "Let us be clear," HR began, eyes scanning the room like a hawk. "Your data findings have raised serious concerns. You've stirred the pot, and now we need to address the compliance of your actions." Miriam's cold smile sent shivers down Sam's spine. "You've made a considerable mess, Sam. Can you really afford to play with fire?" But in that instant, something inside Sam snapped. He found his voice, strong and unwavering. "We might be scared, but we won't run from what we've built together. This isn't just about me or my invention anymore, it's about every worker who deserves to be seen and heard." The silence that followed bore weight. It felt like the collective breath of the room had been held. The HR rep raised an eyebrow, surprised at his burgeoning bravery. "If you thought you could intimidate us into silence, you were wrong. We understand the risk, but we also recognize the value of our voices. We are not just expendable numbers on spreadsheets. We demand respect. Miriam's facade crumbled slightly, revealing the anger simmering beneath her polished exterior. Respect is earned, Sam. It's not a currency you just claim, especially not now. But rather than shrink back, Sam felt a surge of support from his team. Jose stepped forward, his voice steady and resolute. You can try to intimidate us, but this is about more than anything you've done. We want to be part of the solution, not just a line item in your budget. Your power won work here. Miriam's composure faltered as members of Sam's team began to chime in, one after another, expressing their visions for a more inclusive and collaborative workplace. For the first time, it wasn't just Sam against the world, it was all of them standing firm and united. Finally, the HR representative interjected. What's done is done, but perhaps we need to find common ground instead of resorting to punitive measures. That's what we've been saying all along. Clara exclaimed, excitement surging through her. We're not the enemy, we're your partners in this. Miriam's expression morphed, caught between anger and thoughtfulness. You think an employee uprising will change my mind? I won't tolerate insurrection, and you'll answer for this. In an unexpected moment, uncertainty crept in, and Sam saw flickers of vulnerability behind her fierce exterior. They were standing on shaky ground, and if they could just push a little more, maybe it isn't just about punishment, Miriam. Maybe it's about rewriting the old scripts we've all followed for too long, Sam spoke, his voice carrying the energy of unity. His heart thundered in his chest. What if they could inspire her to see beyond her old ways? This isn't just a company, it's a community. The words hung in the air for a moment, their significance sinking into the hearts of those present. Miriam opened her mouth to respond but then paused, watching the hopeful glances exchanged among Sam's team. Think about it, Sam continued. What if we work together to create an environment where everyone is valued? We can help this company thrive, rather than being mere statistics. There was a shift, a slight softening in Miriam's icy demeanor. Was it hesitation? But just as quickly, it hardened again. Together? You think I'll put my faith in an employee uprising just like that? You're playing a dangerous game. We're willing to take that risk, Jose said firmly. Because we believe in a better future for all of us. We're not afraid of change or what that may bring. Miriam's gaze flickered, weighing the potential of their collective passion against the familiar desire to quell dissent. It was as if two forces clashed within her. And in that moment of tension, the HR rep cleared her throat, presenting a possible lifeline. Let's take a step back and reconsider the path forward. Perhaps. What we need here is dialogue, a chance for voices to be heard. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. This was their chance. Sam felt a swell of courage. If you're willing to explore that path and allow every employee a voice, we can present the data properly, showing how impactful it can be for the company without undermining leadership. There's strength in that and in us. Miriam seemed torn, still battling her instinct to assert control, but Sam could see the shift in her eyes, a flicker of intrigue. And finally, she took a deep breath, her resolve wavering. Fine. I'll consider it. This conversation isn't over. But remember, I won't tolerate threats to my power. Relief washed over Sam and his team, a current of hope, as Miriam left the room in sharp silence. The HR rep captured their excitement, stating, "Let us solidify this dialogue. If you're willing to work together as a unit, we can start to address some of these underlying issues." As the weight lifted off their shoulders, Sam and his team caught each other's gaze, the edginess in the air replaced by the warmth of triumph. They stood on the threshold of something greater than any single confrontation. United, they were no longer just a collection of individuals, they were a team, ready to shape their future. "Let us make this count," Sam whispered, and with fervor driving their next steps, they knew they would fight, not just for themselves but for every worker who had felt unseen until now. In the end, they were armed with more than just data, they had forged a bond that Miriam would find harder to break than any corporate structure. As they stepped out of the conference room, murmurs of determination echoed down the hall, a testament to the strength that comes from unity. And as they readied to face whatever came next, one thing was clear: change was upon them, not just for the company, but for every heartbeat that thrummed with the promise of hope. Now, more than ever, Sam understood the power of his voice. He would never back down. The only way was forward. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.